Hey, friends. I hope that you are having a great start to your week. Hold on. Okay. I think we're okay now. So let's see who is on so far. Peggy and Canady Ann, Jackie, Ray, Juanita, Tanya, Wendy, India, Lisa, Doris. Hello to those friends who are watching me live right now. It's going to be a fun time together. I hope you're having a great start to your week. It's a little chilly here in North Carolina, but it is a very, very pretty day. So we will get started. Okay, so I love fringe. Y'all know I love me a good fringe earring. The thing with fringe is fringe has to be done right. Okay, if fringe is not done right, it just is a hot mess and it can be frustrating. So, Valentine's Day is coming up. I so wanted a new pair of fringe earrings for Valentine's Day. I think I get it because I don't know if you know this or not, but I wanted to be a teacher. What? Well, my light just went off. I wanted to be a teacher growing up, and I think it comes from my love of all holidays and always wanting to dress for those different holidays. So I wanted a new earring that would look super cute for Valentine's Day. And then that kind of morphed into a few other things. So I cannot wait to show you these new earrings. So first and foremost, if you have a question, please make sure to ask it in the chat. Or if you are watching the replay, make sure to put it in the comment section. I would love to answer any questions that you have that I can. And then we can go from there. The biggest thing that you are going to need to think about is your thread choice. Okay. Thread choice is huge when you are doing your earrings because if you don't pick the correct thread, you're going to have stiff fringe. It's going to stick out funky and you're just going to get really, really, really frustrated. All right. So, there comes Sammy. Oh, and he's adding more gemstones. He's got a tray of gems, y'all. If you do not know, right now on the website we have a gemstone trunk show going on the website, and Sammy has been adding gemstones for like a week. So there's some great ones, really, really great ones on there. Let's see. India says, I am horrible at fringe. Already bought my Sweetheart mix and need to learn fringe correctly. Well, hopefully we are going to teach you that today. So excited. Okay, so here we go. Number one, like I said, thread. Now, you guys, if you have been on my channel for 10 minutes, you know that I am loving the dragon thread. Since the dragon thread came out, I use this stuff religiously. Okay. I just really, really love the dragon thread. If you are using a 0.006 or smaller, dragon thread will work for the fringe. I can't say that it's my absolute favorite to use for the fringe part, but it will work. This, as much as I love it, is not going to work great for the fringe part. Okay, we'll go over that. But what you want to use for your fringe is going to be something like 1G thread or KO thread or Nymo thread. I was looking to see what other spools I had over here next to me. But to do our actual fringe, you need a really soft thread, okay? So it needs to be, okay. India says dragon thread and delicas don't mix. Actually, India, they do. I think you're just using the wrong weight of it because I actually use the dragon thread for everything and every type of bead, and I don't have those issues. So I think that is your biggest thing. But for the fringe part, you definitely have to use one of these threads. If you don't use a thread, a really soft thread like these, what's going to happen, again, that fringe is going to be too stiff and you're not going to be happy with it. All right. Now, for the top part of the earring that we are going to do, your wildfire, your dragon thread, your fireline, any of those will work. Okay. Now, there is no law that governs that you have to use a certain thread for the whole thing. Okay. I will show you samples that I have made where I have used dragon thread at the top and then 1G for my fringe. I'm going to show you samples where I used the, let's see, what else did I use? Yeah, the wildfire. So I used a wildfire at the top and then something different for my fringe. So, there's no law to govern that you have to use a certain thread on a certain part of the project. Okay. So it's the great thing about this. Now, me personally, for this specific project, I like to use the 1G just straight all the way through, just because for me, I am a super, super tight beater. So if I take and I do the top part in my dragon thread, which is going to be our 2 bead brick stitch. If I do that in dragon thread or fireline or wildfire, it gets really, really tight. And then I have to use pliers almost to get my needle to go through where it needs to go through. So that is going to be your key. That is why I like to use a little bit of something different. So Lois Becker says, I've done Fringe with fireline and it's just too stiff. Exactly. That is going to be your kicker. If you use something that like that, it is just too stiff and it just doesn't lay pretty. Like you can see here, like the fringe that I have on, I taught these on my channel sometime last year. They're just really, they free flow. They're really, really, really fun. So this would not be this way if I used fireline or anything like that. Kathy Hall says, how do I avoid getting knots in my thread? Well, we will go over that, Kathy. We will definitely go over that. So I'm going to be showing you a couple of fun new products today. So first of all, the color mix that I'm going to be using today is this color. Okay. It's a new mix that I have on the website called the Sweetheart Delica mix. Now, this Delica mix has 9 colors of Delicas. All right, that make up this really fun new mix. And we just restocked these. We sold out really quickly. So we restocked them on Saturday. So we got a really good stock of this specific Delica mix. Now, you are also going to see me use in one of my samples, you are going to see me use this beautiful new blue mix. This is what that mix looks like. Again, it is 9 colors of Delicas. It is called the Sandy Blue, S-A-N-D-I, Sandy Blue mix. This is going to be on my website as well because it's a really, really fun color combo there. So I'm going to be showing those. And then you guys, this is what born these earrings. I love me a good heart earring. And I needed a fun fringe. So this fringe, this one right here, is one that I'm not going to show you how to do today. I'm going to show you because we got some basics to go over. But this Friday, which is February, 3rd, February 3rd, 2023, free shipping Friday is on my website, offthebeadedpath.beadstore.com. So if you spend $15 or more and have your package shipped anywhere in the U.S., you get free USPS shipping. Now, the cool thing about this week's free shipping Friday is with the heart that I love so much. If you place an order this Friday, February the 3rd, 2023, and you qualify for the free shipping, we are going to send you the diagram, the graph, the word chart for this earring. Okay, so it will be a printed pattern graph that will be in with your package. And then what I'm going to do also is on Saturday, because if you're like me, I love this earring, but we've got Valentine's Day coming up pretty quick. I'm going to also email you a digital copy of that sometime on Saturday, because I'll have to make sure everybody kind of gets in for that free shipping. Now, if you don't want to wait and you don't want to, you can't qualify for free shipping, or you are anywhere in the States, I actually already have this full pattern on my website. The full pattern shows you step by step how to do the earring, and it gives you the graph. on to do that. So those are just a fun couple of little options for you today. But are some things that I'm going to be using. So I just wanted you to know that. Okay. Let's see. Trish says, I love those mixes. Blue will go with my new Brahmin purse. You go, girl. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. So here's what we're going to do to get started. I'm going to be using my 1G for the entire project for me personally. All right. Now, somebody asked a little while ago, how do you avoid getting knots in your thread? The first thing is I'm going to use some white thread that came on this little baby spool is what I call it. The thing is, it has been spooled on this little baby spool for a while. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take my thread and I'm going to run it between my fingers like this. And I'm going to work some of that out of the thread. Okay. Because it's been on that little thread. It has been conditioned to stay on that little thing. So I'm just going to do this first. This is the first thing you want to do. All right. Get some of that out. Now, the second thing that you can do is you can take and you can actually wax your thread if you want to, okay? I don't personally wax my thread, but you can definitely wax your thread, okay? You can use beeswax. This is a specific product called Thread Magic. And when you wax your thread, it's got these little notches in it here. And I'm just going to take the thread and you lay it over the wax, put your finger there, and then just run your thread through that wax. Okay. Now, this is not something I generally do. I do not normally wax my thread. As you can tell, you can see I've used, nothing of it here, hardly. I mainly just use this to show people if you want to wax your thread. This will help with knots some, okay? It's not going to help entirely, but it's going to help some. So that is another option you can do. Now, I'm going to be showing you some other little tips and tricks as we go along through this process as well. So give me 1 second here. Okay. Move this out of the way here. Now, again, I'm going to use my Sweetheart mix. If you don't have a mix, which is completely fine, if you do not have a mix, you can always use whatever delicas you have. It does not matter. I just wanted something fun for Valentine's Day. So we are going to be doing a 2-bead brick stitch. So what this means is after our first stitch, every stitch after that is going to have 2 beads. So to start on our base row, row 1, we're going to be doing a ladder stitch row. So I'm going to pick up 4 beads. 4 beads is always first. Okay. Now I'm going to hold these 4 beads and I'm going to bring the thread down just enough that I hold it in my hand. Okay. So I'm not leaving much of a tail thread at all. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to go back up through the first 2 beads of those 4 again. So if I pull this back, I have the first 2 and the last 2 here. And I will pull this through, holding on to that tail thread so it doesn't come off. So when I do that now, my 2 beads should sit side by side. Now I'm going to take the needle and I'm going to come down through the second stack of beads that I have. Now at this point, they're okay. But you see what happened right there? You see how when I pulled that, my threads separated down here at the bottom a little bit? To fix that, I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to go up through those first 2 beads again. And then down through the second stack of beads. Again, I'm going to hold it. And now I've got a really nice start to what I'm doing. So at this point, I'm only going to pick up 2 beads at a time. So I pick up my 2 beads. My thread is currently coming out of the bottom of this stack, meaning it's coming out towards my body. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these 2 beads and I'm going to come back down through that same stack of beads. So that way, when I do that, I'm going to be essentially making a circle. So I do that and I pull through, and now the new stack sits right next to the old stack of beads. Now I take the needle and I come up through the new stack of beads again. Okay. Now I pick up 2 beads. I take the needle. You can see the thread is coming out of the top. So I'm going to take the needle and I'm going to come back through those 2 beads again to make a circle. Okay, Lois says I am echoing a little bit. Okay. Lois, we will check on that. I'm going to take my needle. You can see I've come down through that new stack of beads. Now I'm going to pick up 2 beads. And my thread is coming out of the bottom of the stack.
Kelly, turn your sound off.
Already have.
You're echoing. I hear it from here.
It's all the way down.
Okay.
This is turned off.
All right, try again. Keep on.
And the mic is turned off. Okay. Now it just went up. What the heck? Hang on, you guys. We're trying something here. Oops. I'm going to lose the camera. If I try to turn this off, I'll lose the camera.
Yeah. Let me go back there and log in and see if we can do something.
You won't be able to. You try. Okay. So I'm just going to keep working. Sammy's going to check on this echo issue. And I'm going to keep working until I get 13 stacks. So remember, we need 13 stacks. So right now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I know there are some of you who are completely stressing out going, oh my God, what colors does she pick up? I am not picking up any certain colors. I have these randomly laid out and I am randomly picking them up. All right. If you worry about picking them up in a certain order, then honestly, you might as well just go ahead and do a pattern because you're going to stress yourself out. It's fun just to randomly pick up your colors. You get a really fun earring like that. Okay. So now I have 13 rows. And at the end of my 13 rows, I have the beginner's thread here. I have my working thread here. And that's exactly how I want it. I'm going to double count again. Yep, 13 rows. Now, from this point, we are going to treat this just like regular brick stitch, okay? We are only going to be using our thread bridges here along the top of the piece. We're not going to be stitching through our stack that was here. We are going to be using our thread bridges here at the top. So just like we started out the stitch, I'm going to pick up 4 beads. So the first of every row is 4 beads. Now I'm going to take the needle and I'm going to skip my first thread bridge right here. And I'm going to take the needle and I'm going to go under the second thread bridge, which is this one here. And I'm going to pull this through. So when you do that, this is what it looks like. Okay. Now I'm going to take the needle and I'm going to come up through the first, or not the first stack, but the stack right above where my thread is coming out. So it's going to be this stack closest to where my thumb is here. So even if I'm left-handed and I'm doing it this way, again, it's going to be closest to where my thumb is, where I'm holding it. So it doesn't matter if you're doing it left-handed or right-handed. Now I'm going to take the needle and I'm going to come down through the first stack again. And then up through the second stack. Now, here is where a tip or a trick is going to come in. First thing, when I pull this through, I want to kind of pull it over to the opposite direction of where my thread. So instead of pulling it straight up like this, I'm going to pull these first two kind of over the opposite way. I'm not really sure why that works. If I'm being 100% honest with you, I have no clue why it works. But that just helps to straighten up these two stacks of beads. Now, sometimes when I do this, even when I take and I pull the thread this way, these two beads on top will still sit wonky. And that drives me insane. So I'm going to show you a little tip here. If these two beads right here do not sit nice like they are right here, if they don't sit nice like this, and these top two beads set at an angle to each other like this, then I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to come down through just the top bead. So I'm not going through the whole stack. Okay, I'm only going through this top bead. So I'm going to do that. And then up through just the top bead of that stack. Okay, the one right next to it. And then I'm just going to give it a gentle upward tug. And what that does is now those two beads are straight as could be right there on top. And it looks really, really, really nice. India says, this is a decrease. Yep, that is a decrease. Absolutely. So you can see there now how they don't sit wonky. They sit nice and straight on top of each other. What's going to happen if you don't do this step? It's not going to be a huge deal breaker. All that's going to happen is you'll see here kind of where some of the beads are sitting at an angle. Those are, if you don't do that step, that's what's going to happen. They're going to be at an angle. Let me see this one. So see like right here, like right there's one. So there's a few of these that are sitting at an angle. And this is what happens if you don't do this extra little step. Now, this little step is not required, okay? You do not have to do that, but it just makes your piece look so much better when you're doing 2 bead decreasing stitch, what we're doing. Now, every stitch after this is going to be 2 beads. So I pick up 2 beads and I go under the very next thread bridge. So I'm not skipping anything. I'm just going under that very next bridge. And then I go up through the 2 beads that I just added. Okay. Pick up 2 beads. Take my needle, go under the next thread bridge here, pull it through, and go up through the 2 beads. Now I'm going to quickly work the rest of this row. so that I can show you that decrease one more time. So you can see, again, I'm not picking up any sort of, oh shoot, hold on. There we go. I'm not picking up a pattern. I am just randomly picking up my beads. I don't care if I have 2 beads of the same color in a stack. I'm just picking them up. These are going to give you such a fun earring if you do it this way. Erica, you are right. She said, if I'm going to pick up random beads, they better sit up straight. My bead soldiers better sit up straight. Absolutely. I love it, Erica. Chris, are we using Delicas? Yes, we are using Delica beads, but Chris, you can honestly use any bead. It doesn't have to be a Delica. It can be a regular round bead. They're just not going to sit nice and perfect on top of each other like Delicas will. Okay, so I'm to the end of my row. So now I have 2 rows. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to do that decrease again. So remember, the first row is 4 beads. So I have my 4 beads. We skip the first thread bridge and I go under the second thread bridge. I pull it through and I take the needle and I go through the 2 beads right above where my needle's at. And I come down through the first stack again. Up through the second stack. Okay, now it just so happened that stack sits perfectly. So I'm not going to have to do anything else to that stack. I'm not going to have to go down through the top bead here and up through the top bead there. And sometimes it could just be the tension that you're pulling. It could be the bead that you're using. Sometimes they're just going to sit perfect like that and you don't have to do anything. And that's the great thing. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue this until, let me get my needle off here so I can show you. I'm going to continue doing this decrease until I get it down to here. Okay. What this is going to do, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 rows. So I'm going to continue that until I have 11 rows. So the 11 rows, when I finish, I'm going to have 3 rows here left on the top. Okay, so I'm going to go from this to this. And then once you do this, now we're going to make our little loop for our earring. Now, the thing is, when you make this loop, you can do this however you want. Okay? When you do this loop, you can do it with a jump ring. You can do it with a wire protector. You can do it however floats your boat. But for me, I like to do, and I'm trying to find a blue here really quickly in my stash. I like to use size 15 seed beads here at the top to make a really simple loop for my ear wire to hang off of. Now, you do what you want to. Okay, this is life according to Kelly Dale. but you just make it how you want to make it. This is just, to me, this is the absolute easiest thing. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I have 6 of my 15s on here. And I'm going to take my needle, and it's coming out of this stack here, this end stack. So I'm going to take the needle and I'm going to come down through the end stack over here. Okay. And then I'm going to pull this through. Now you'll see it makes a little tiny loop here, and that's what I want. I just need something small enough that I can hang my ear wire from without, making anything look funky. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stitch down through a few beads, and then I'm going to come back around. So I'm going to turn around. Let me see here. There we go. So I'm going to turn back around. And I'm going to stitch back up here to the top and reinforce this again.
It's your phone.
Okay. So again, when I get here and I turn around, I'm going to have to turn around and come back up again. Okay, so a couple of things. Let me see here. I've got a couple of questions. India says, how would you add a lever back earring finding, or would you not use it? No, you absolutely can. You can actually stitch the lever back in here, India, meaning that I could add on 3 beads, my lever back and 3 beads, and actually stitch it in. But when you use 15s here at the top, these beads are small enough that even with a lever back that has an open loop on it, you should be able to fit that little loop through an open lever back. And let's see, is there a reason that everyone uses an even number to create a loop and not an odd number? Honestly, no. The biggest thing, like here, is if you get a loop that's really tight and it's not a little more open like this, you see how the ear wire kind of lays dead center in those. If you do an odd number, your bead is going to be laying under like a bead itself, and it may move back and forth and not lay exactly centered like it should. So, I mean, that I'm not saying that's why. I'm just saying that could be a reason. But again, you do whatever you want to here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to completely get rid of my thread here. So I have add these and I have reinforced them. So now I'm going to stitch through my beads. I'm going to have to take my glasses off today. I don't know what the deal is. I'm going to stitch down through the beads here to get rid of this thread. So especially if you are using fireline or dragon thread or something like that, this is where you definitely want to go ahead and finish off this thread because we don't want to use it for our fringe. And then the second thing is, if a fringe were to break, I would not have to redo the whole earring. I could just redo the fringe. So that's another thing you kind of want to think about. Now, did I just break that? No, the thread just came out. Okay. So now you can use whatever you want. Get rid of that little excess thread there. And then you'll notice on this one, I've already actually gone ahead and got rid of the little tail thread. So you should have a beginner thread here that we would have had. I've actually gone ahead and already stitched this through so we can get rid of that. So I completely have one little pyramid now. So if you wanted a pyramid, that's how you make the pyramid, guys. You're welcome. Oh, gosh. Okay. Now, new thread. So again, I'm going to use my 1G. I'm going to say this one more time. Don't use your dragon thread unless it's like a size 6 or smaller. Okay. If it's a 0.8, it's not going to work. Don't wildfire, fireline. You want something like this. Right? Now, yep, and Sharon, that's why I say everybody do what you want to do. I am just doing what works best for me and what I enjoy doing best. But each person, you do what you want to do. Okay, so again, I've got this thread, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it, and remember, I'm just going to run my hands through it first of all, so that way it gets out any little kink, any little extra, because you see down here, you see what's happening? As I pull it through, it's running out. So I'm just going to keep on doing this to kind of get any twists or turns out. Okay. Okay. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to thread my needle, and I'm going to put just a little bit of thread through, just like this. Now, I'm going to start on one end. It doesn't matter which end I start off with. Okay. I'm just going to start on one end, and I'm going to bring this needle, and I'm only going to pull through about 4 inches, 5 inches at the most. Okay. So I'm going to use this hand to hold, and I'm going to use this hand to stitch. And I'm going to stitch through several beads to lock thread in place. And this is a great time that if you have a bead that is wonky or anything like that, this is a great time to fix that bead with this little excess thread. Hey, Sammy, can you do this? I think this person's outside. Sure. Okay. I don't know what is wrong with my vision today. I'm having issues. Let's get it here. Okay. So here's how I test to make sure that if I'm good to go. I'm going to grab a hold, and I'm going to pull this thread really, really, really tight. As long as this thread doesn't get any shorter, then I know that that thread is good to go. Okay. So it's good. So now I'm going to take and I'm going to get rid of this little short thread. If by some chance I was to pull that and that thread would have gotten shorter, then I know to stitch through a few beads to get rid of that thread. Few more beads, lock it in place. Now, here's how we're going to do the fringe. And I've got a couple of great tips for you with your fringe. So let me move these 15s out of the way so I don't accidentally put those up. So your fringe itself. Okay, let me look here really quick. You can see here the triangle itself is going to be about 1 1/4 inches. Okay, that's going to be the height of this. Your fringe, my fringe is going to be approximately 2 inches. You can make this longer or shorter by increasing or decreasing the thread counts that I am fixing to tell you. Okay, let me see here. Katerina, my friend, yes, there is a reason why. Katerina asked, was there a reason why we switch threads? Yes, because on the top, if you are using something like a wildfire, a dragonfly, that dragonfly thread, or fireline, it will not do good for your fringe. Your fringe will be very stiff. So you need a much softer thread, like a 1G thread, a Nymo thread, something like that to actually do the fringe part of your piece. Heather says, I see a slight leopard pattern. Oh my gosh, I know I need a pair of leopard print ones of these. So this fringe and this fringe are both 38 beads, meaning the fringe itself is 38. Now you have an option here. One thing you have an option of is the last bead of each fringe, you can do the same color. Or you can just do like me and you can pick up random colors however you want to. It's going to be really cool. But 38 beads. So, okay, I've got 20 on here, but I'm going to check. 2, 6, 8, 10. Okay, I got 20 there. Okay, if you're hearing a beeping noise, Sammy is right behind the camera taking pictures. So, all right. So count, double count, make sure you have the 38 beads. Once you have your 38, take your needle and pull down that 38th bead. So you can see here, I'm pulling it back. And now I'm going to take the needle and I'm going to go up through the rest of the stack. Now, this is where you want to be careful and make sure that you don't skip any of these beads as you go up. If you skip any of the beads, what's going to happen is you are going to see a bead that's going to stick out funky and you're going to have to pull it out. So I'm going to continue on. Once I reach the top, I go through the whole stack and then my 2 beads here on the base. And I am going to hold. Now, here's 2 tips and tricks for you. First tip, hold on to the very end bead down here and pull the thread straight up the way that your thread is coming. Number 1, that is going to help to pull any excess thread that you have here out. Just like that. Okay, it's going to help pull any excess out. And so if my thread, if I pull it down, it's like this. Again, the easiest way, grab a hold of the last bead and pull the thread straight up. Second tip, when you pull, do not go like this and pull with all your might, because you see what just happened? You see how now instead of it being straight, I've got a curve in it. And if I pull it real tight, y'all look at that. Now, this is with 1G. Imagine what this would be if you used fireline or something like that. It would be even worse, okay? So you have to make sure that you leave yourself just a tiny bit of room so that when you hold it, you get a nice little fringe like this. Okay, let me see. I'm seeing some questions here. Virginia, let's see. Both of these are already videos that I already have on my YouTube channel. This is a mood ring, and this one is a rainbow ring. I did both of these on YouTube. Sandra asks, what length of thread? I started with 2 yards. And my bracelet is a right angle weave bracelet. It's this pattern has been out for probably 20 plus years. I don't remember who did it. You can see how old it is. My clasp is completely it's black now instead of being nice shiny silver. But it's a right angle weave pattern that came out, I believe, in Bead and Button magazine, again probably 20 years ago. So it's an oldie but goodie. Okay, now when you go down for your next fringe, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come down through the next stack, which is the 2 beads right next to where my thread's coming out. But now here's another tip for you. I'm going to bend this fringe back, and when I pull the thread, don't get it caught. That's the first thing. But then when I pull that thread, by bending this back, what I am doing is I am taking this thread and I'm adding just a little bit of tension to it. So that way when I let it go, it's still nice and flowing like this is here. So now 38 beads. So again, I can make this longer by adding more beads, or I can make it shorter by adding less beads. All right. So again, longer, I'm going to add 38 plus beads. Shorter, I'm just going to pick up less beads, 38 less. Okay. So it's completely up to you. So now 38 beads. I'm going to double check. Let's see. Any tips on threading 1G? Very, very good. And I will answer that, Doris. I will absolutely answer that. Okay, so let me see. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 19. So I always double check. So it's 20. Okay, so I have my 38 beads. And what you can do as well, hold them up to each other when you finish it. Push that thread up and make sure that they're the same length. They are the same length, so you're good to go. So again, I skip the last bead, and I'm going to go up through, making sure I don't skip any beads. Put my finger here, pull it through, and then finish out the row. And then when I finish, I go through the 2 beads of this base row. Now again, when I pull it, see how I've got a little bit of room there? So I'm going to lay it down, put my finger there, and gently tug. Okay, now bend it back. Come to the next stack, come to that stack, pull. Got my thread caught around, there we go. So again, when I give it a gentle tug and I look, you see there, now I still have a fringe that's a good fringe. So if you will just take and bend the previous stack back as you stitch the next down through the next stack, that is going to give you a really, really, really nice look. Okay, let's see. Could you add a picot edge for interest, or would the fringe rows be too close to each other? I think you definitely could, Sharon, but I think what I would do is I would do all the fringe, And then I would come back and add some little picots. So if you see that you want that, you could definitely go back and add those picots. So there is no problem there. So what you're going to do is you continue with the 38 beads all the way across. And then when you finish that, you are going to be left with something that looks like this. Now, this one does not have the top little loop on it yet. You can see here I've still got thread because I made these last night while I was at home and I didn't have my 15s. But you can see there what a really, really cool earring you end up with the blue mix. So again, this is my pink mix. And then the blue mix. And you can tell a difference. I want you to see this as well. This one, I used a dragon thread. Okay. And look at the shape versus my shape with the 1G. Okay. So you can see I get nice, beautiful straight rows. With the dragon thread, it's a little bit stiffer. I still get a really nice fringe, but it's a little bit stiffer so that when I lay it out, you can see how it kind of flares out a little bit instead of being a straight line like this is. So again, this is with full 1G. This one is with dragon thread throughout the entire thing. This one is with 1G all the way through it. And this one actually has dragon thread for the top and 1G for the bottom. Okay. So you can also tell, I don't know if you can tell like actually in the video, but this here, this is the one I did with the dragon thread, and it's a lot tighter. And I wish you were right here to see it. It's a little bit more wavy, but it's just because I'm such a tight stitcher. Okay, Joy says, of course, Joy, you're my troublemaker. I love you. She says, are those beads seed beads or delicas? They are delicas, Miss Joy. And I thought of you when I made this mix. This is the Sweetheart Delica mix that I used. And then the blue mix is the Sandy, S-A-N-D-I, Sandy Blue mix. Linda asks, I'm wondering how it would look with porcupine quills for the fringe. It would look amazing. I love it.
Could have called it strawberry heel.
Yes. Joy, only you will get this. Sammy said I should have called it the strawberry heel mix. Only you will understand that. Okay. So I want to show you how I'm going to finish this thread. So I have all of my fringe finished, ready to go. And now I'm here on the end. So I'm going to finish this thread just like I started and added my thread over here. So I'm going to stitch through. The biggest thing I want to make sure is just like I did here. As I stitch through, I'm going to kind of bend this back a little bit. And when I bend it back, that's going to stop me from pulling this thread super tight and making this one sit funky. Okay. So I'm going to lock this thread in place. Joy said, thank you. I'm thinking of her, Sammy. Okay, and you can see there now how by doing that, I got to still have that really cool, nice fringe and nothing's sticking out or acting funky. So then all I'm going to do is, again, just lock this thread in place and stitch through to get rid of the thread. Because here's what's going to happen. If I try to put a knot in this, anywhere I put a knot, you are going to see it. So this is why it's best just to use your thread and stitch it through and lock it into place to finish your piece. So I'm going to lock it 3 times. Another thing you want to make sure, one of the great things about using a 1G thread is it comes in so many colors. So when you have your colors, it's great because I actually used the red. No, on this one, I used the white thread. And you can look here at the bottom and you see the threads here at the bottom. Now, that does not like freak me out. Okay, I'm completely fine with it because if somebody's this close that they can see that that is white thread on the end, they better be my husband or my spouse if they're that close. Okay, so you can see here, I used the red thread. 1G has a red thread, so I used the red thread, and so you don't see that on the end. So that's another great thing, especially when you're locking thread in place. You want to be careful. I'm looking to see if I see one. I think I tried to be really, really careful on these. Sometimes when you stitch through, if you're not careful when you're locking it in place, you'll be able to see your thread where you're locking it in place. So, okay, so that is done. So then at that point, I will add my ear wire. And again, it's done. How fun is that? What a cool process to go from this bag of beads to a really, really fun new earring. Okay, let's see here. All right, what did you guys think? Are you going to give it a try? Did you learn something new? We're going to give it a try. I hope you give it a try. It's a lot of fun. Now, again, just FYI for you. What you can do is I have the step-by-step pattern. So if you don't do well with a video and you need a step-by-step pattern is available on my website. This one is called the Sweetheart Fringe. All right, Sweetheart Fringe. I also have the pattern for this fun heart fringe. Excuse me. The pattern itself, you can purchase the full pattern, which is step by step, or if you place an order on Friday, February 3rd, 2023, on Free Shipping Friday, you get the graph for free in your package if we send you the package. I also have the mixes available on my website, and I have these fun new ear wires. I don't know if you can see them here. Let me put it under. So I'm going to be using these ear wires next week in my video, along with this Sweetheart mix. I'm going to be showing another fringe, but I'm going to be showing how to do the fringe off of an actual already made binding. So I have both those available on my website as well, so you will know that. All right, let's look at some questions. Did you add... Lisa says, did you add extra beads to hold the ear wire? Yes, I did, Lisa. I used size 15 seed beads. Let me pull that in for you. You can see here, I used size 15 seed beads to make that loop so that I could hold the ear wire. And as soon as this video is finished, it will get uploaded to YouTube and you can go back and watch the replay on that. Let me see here. Okay. Another question. Can a beginner do this? I came in late. Patricia, a beginner can do this. Absolutely. But before you do a 2-bead brick stitch like I showed today, you may want to go and check out some of my other fringe videos just because the 2-bead is a little bit more involved. Okay, so I would go back and check. I have several fringe videos that I might do before I jump right into this one. All right, somebody asked about recommendations for pattern making websites, programs, or apps. So the best thing to do, honestly, is to go to Google and Google search bead pattern software, and it's going to bring up, there's not a ton of them on the market. All right. I wish I could say it was like an amazing app and there's tons of them. There's not. There's only a handful of them on the market. I don't like to personally give out recommendations of those. Honestly, it's because each one of them has their pros and their cons. I actually have 3. I use Beadographer, which is online. I use Bead Tool, and I have used, oh shoot, crud, I forget that third one. I never used the third one. It was high dollar. I paid like $160 for the software, and I never use it. Some of them are super easy to use, like Beadographer and Bead Tool. They're really, really easy to use. Others, like some of the more high dollar ones, I mean, it's a learning curve. Like you've really got to practice and play and do things like that. The thing that you have to know is with Beadographer and Bead Tool, most of them have free versions. On the free versions, you cannot save your pattern. Okay, so you have to purchase a paid version to be able to save your patterns. And then I am going to get to Doris before I forget. Okay, Doris asked, is there an easy way to thread your 1G? Okay, so Doris, the first thing I'm going to say is make sure that the end of your 1G is not frayed. All right, you don't want any fraying on the end of your thread. The second thing is going to be, and it's hard because I mean the eyes of these things are tiny, but you want to look at the eye of your needle and make sure there's no obstructions in the eye of the needle. The third thing is I watch so many people take their needle and they go, like this, trying to thread your needle. Well, you can do that, but all you're doing is causing yourself stress. Put your thread between your thumb and your pointer finger, no matter if you're left-handed or right-handed. Put it between and kind of press it like this so that you barely see it sticking out. Take the needle, look at the needle, and find the eye. And lay the eye down right over the thread. Okay. When you lay it on the thread, like I just showed you, the needle has nowhere, or the thread has nowhere else to go except through the eye of the needle. All right. So I'm going to do that again. Sometimes you get it on the first try, like I did, and sometimes it takes just a second. But you see right there, it has nowhere else to go except through the needle. The other thing that you can do is you can use something like the Thread Magic, and you can wax the end of it before you thread it. Okay, so that is just a few tips on how to thread your 1G thread with the needle. Okay, let's see. Oh, Joy, thank you. It says it's a good day to be happy. Because it is. It's a good day to be happy. I love it. Okay, I think so far I have everybody's question there. I hope I did. Scrolling back through. Just give me a second. I'm scrolling through to make sure I got people's questions answered. Oh gosh. Oh, this was a good one. Wendy, anyone who has had the misfortune to having to take apart a brick stitch piece knows that knots are not necessary. You are correct, Wendy. Oh my gosh, yes. And honestly, if you make a mistake and you have to pull it out, don't try to take your needle and work back through where you're going. Take your needle off and then use your awl, okay, a beading awl, to pull out what you need to. If you don't have an awl, you can use like a straight pin or a stiffer pin. Now, I know some of you are going to ask, because I get it asked every video I show this. This is a tulip awl. The cover that I beaded is by Lisa Turin. She is in Florida. Lisa Turin Designs. She can hook you up. Okay. It's a great, great, great pattern. So I hope. Oh, and before I forget, I do have kits for the little heart fringe. I do have kits available, again, on my website, off the Beaded Path, beadstore.com. So, guys, I hope that you will join me next week. Oh, my gosh. Hold on. I have to address this. Dixie Bling says, haven't heard of 1G. Is it similar to fireline? That's a negative. Definitely a negative. 1G and fireline are two completely different types of threads. 1G is made by the Toho company, and it is a lot softer. So I hope that each of you have a wonderful afternoon. I will be live again next Monday, same back time, same back channel, with a new fringe earring. So I hope you guys can join me then. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your afternoon, and we will see you again next time. Bye-bye.